Hello and welcome to another episode of Anniversary Edition. Today we are going to be having a little chat about Dead Poets Society, which celebrates its 30th anniversary this year. Obviously we're going to spoil the film, so do go away and watch it before you listen to the podcast. I'm Sophie and I'm here today with Tom.
Hello.
Hey. So this is a 1989 American drama directed by Peter Weir. As always, I've written a lovely little synopsis, which is not the best. But here goes.
Okay.
So, a group of students at an elite Vermont boarding school become inspired to look at life with a new perspective by their English teacher through poetry.
Yeah, that sums it up very well.
Yeah, it's poorly constructed, but never mind. We'll move past it. the English.
It should have been a poem, but fine, I'll let it go.
Well, sure. Okay, so I think we talked about this last week. Neither of us had seen this before. So this is quite exciting. I don't know that have we talked about a film yet that neither of us have watched? I'm not sure.
Oh.
I don't know. I actually can't. I'd have to look at them all.
There must be one that we both haven't seen. I don't know. I'd have to look at the list.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the list as well. Okay. Well, if you know, let us know, because we can't remember. So, yeah, I don't even know where to start to talk about this as like a top line.
All right.
So I did enjoy watching this.
Yeah.
I don't get why everyone raves about it.
Okay.
But I liked it. I wouldn't probably ever want to watch it again.
I was like, this is a very good film.
Okay.
It's a really good film.
Yeah.
But it didn't surprise me in any way, shape or form.
No.
Like, nothing happened in it that I didn't fully expect to happen or couldn't have guessed at happening based on the trailer or the look of the poster and
or the fact that it's this amazing, it's this iconic film that everyone talks about, and you're like, well, something must have to happen.
Yeah, so I think it's very well acted, it's well directed,
yes, so
it's beautifully shot, it's a really good script.
It's a lovely film, like
it ticks all of those boxes, and I feel it's a bit of a Shawshank. It ticks all of those boxes so much that most people will go, that's a really good film. Yeah.
See, I would much rather watch Shawshank again.
Yeah, I think I would actually.
Than this.
Because I think that's a bit more...
I think...
There's more intrigue.
Interest.
Yeah.
And I think it's so stupid because for me, when I was watching this, so I watched the Gilmore Girls.
Right.
Like, I don't really know why. I think I randomly came upon it when it was on TV and I was like, oh, it's like people talking really fast and eating cake. Cool. And it's this. So, do you know the Gilmore Girls at all?
No, I've never watched it.
So it's an American like TV series, and it's this girl from this girl and a mum, and her mum got pregnant at 16, and you meet the teenager, the daughter, when she's 16.
Okay.
And she goes to like a I don't know what the phrase is like in the States, but just like a normal high school.
Right.
And she's really smart. And she goes and starts school at this really posh, like, private school. It's not a boarding school, because the mum's grandparents help fund it. But she has to start going to Friday night dinners, and the mum hates her pet. Well, they have a very strange relationship. Right. She doesn't hate them. That's the premise. There's nothing really at all to do with Dead Poets Society, and it's in no way similar apart from the fact that it's a really posh school.
Right.
But it kind of felt like the whole series of so it's all the way through her high school, then she goes to college, but it kind of felt like that chunk of a kid's life just compressed into a film rather than a TV series. And I was like, oh, obviously you've got the thing with Neil, but aside from that, I was like, nothing really happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's a coming of age story.
Absolutely, that's how I would describe this film. I don't think it's a it's dramatic.
A drama, but it's the movie that I was sitting there thinking, oh wait, this is Footloose, but without the rock and roll.
Yeah,
and it's
you're watching
John Keating is Ren, and it's it's so it's that very iconic story.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with a story about kids growing up and finding friends and you know, and it's a charming film. Like it is. It really is. And like I said, I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I've watched it. But I would never in a million years rate this in like my top 10.
No, I don't think I would either.
I just have no interest to watch it again.
Yeah. I mean, like again,
like you said, it's really well acted.
It's good. I know, but I think for me, the most interesting character is Robin Williams as John Keating.
That's who I want to learn more about. Yeah.
I mean, he's in it, but
yeah.
I mean, you know, you'd think there would be much more of him interacting with the kids, although the way it's set up is they explore his teachings on their own.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think the most interesting one out of them is probably Neil.
Yes.
But
yeah, he's the most enchanting on screen.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, and charming. You're like, oh, this is like, and charismatic. He's that kind of the kid that you would want to hang out with in school, you know?
And it's funny because like all the, like, you know, you get all of the setup with Neil and his dad's, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to do this, you're going to go that. And he's like, I want to be an actor. And it's like, oh, there's all of that. But I still, all the time I felt like, Todd, who's played by Ethan Hawke, he's the lead kid, right?
He's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
He's supposed to be
that's
like,
how I felt. But actually, you know nothing about him.
No. And he doesn't really change that much. He just kind of, my takeaway from him is that he was just sort of painfully shy and then he made friends and isn't.
Yeah.
That's kind of his story, right?
Yeah, because you kind of feel like it's supposed to be his coming of age.
Yeah, because he's the odd one out. He doesn't know anybody. Neil's stuck with the new kid. And you kind of think, oh, it's going to be about them as well, those two specifically.
Yeah.
And it's really not. It's about this group of kids who get really inspired by this amazing teacher.
Yeah. And then you start to follow more like Charlie and Knox, who I found looked so similar. I got confused. So I was just like, which one's which?
So hang on. Knox, I think, is the kid that is Josh Charles, right? The actor, yes. Because he was in The Good Wife.
Right.
So I recognised him from that.
Okay.
I was like, yes, okay. But the other kid looked so similar. And I was like, wait, which one are we watching now?
Yeah.
And actually, I was kind of more interested in storylines. I was more interested in Knox getting the girl. Is it Knox that wants... Yeah.
Is it Knox that goes for... I thought it was Charlie that went for the girl.
Well, so did I, but I feel like...
Oh, no, you're right. It is Knox.
It is Knox.
Yeah, you're right, because she calls him that, doesn't she?
Yes, of course she does. Yeah, I was kind of like, oh, is he going to get the girl? Are they going to like be boyfriend and girlfriend? It's going to be really cute. But you don't really get like anything. Like obviously they go to the play and he holds her hand, but nothing happens after that. And you're like, no resolution at all. And I suppose there doesn't need to be because it's not really about them. But that was kind of the storyline. Those were the storylines that I was intrigued by. Like him and the girl, the teacher, Todd and Neil becoming like best friends.
Yeah.
And Neil kind of, you don't really think... My fundamental issue with this, right? And this is I don't know how to say this. I don't understand how you're supposed to believe that a kid who is confident and healthy and mentally well, how his reaction to the scenario that he's in makes him take his own life.
Yeah. Yeah, I did feel that is... I think it's supposed to be shocking.
It is, and it's a really important thing to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. But it doesn't... I think you don't get enough. You need more of the interaction between him and his father.
Yes, because it doesn't make sense without it.
No.
It's like there's been like 6 scenes that have been left out of the film that you didn't have, that you needed, because you needed to understand more about his dad's domineering personality and the fact that he knew he would never, ever... He basically knew that he had no life. Yeah.
And it's like, you do get the domineering father comes across.
Yeah, but it's not enough.
But it's not to any point where you think that he needs to fear for his own life. Like there's like it's, you know, it does seem a bit of a extreme
Yeah.
And I get it, but I feel like there needed to be more set up and more build up. And I think that...
Not to take away from the fact that it happens, because like you say, I think it is supposed to be shocking.
Yes.
But I feel like too much is left unsaid in order to make it shocking.
Yeah.
To the point where, to the detriment of the fact that it doesn't seem believable.
You don't see enough of his pain beforehand. No. Because you see it, I guess you see it from Todd's point of view, and he's unaware. And I get that, because a lot of people, it's a surprise for the friends and loved ones, family, and it is something they never thought would happen. Yeah. And I understand that, you need to show that as well to an extent, but I think you needed a bit more of an insight to make it believable.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And it's really hard. It is a really difficult subject, and I am no expert in the area. And talking about this is obviously a difficult thing, and my lack of understanding is in no way meant as like an offence for my own ignorance. But I just, I just found it so. And I think I said this last week. I knew the ending, so I knew that there was a kid. One of the boys committed suicide. And I was like, okay, well, which one? And as soon as the film started, I was like, okay, well, it's going to be Todd, because he's going to struggle. Like you say, he's the lead. He's not going to be able to fit in or make friends. And he has this kind of inner torment that you sort of aren't really made aware of, like why or how or what's really happened there. But I couldn't really place it as Neil.
Yes. I know what you mean.
Yeah, but then I remembered the line from Friends, because she says, it's so tasteless because it's not funny because it's suicide, but the line, obviously it's in Friends and it's supposed to be comical. She says, I don't get why that kid killed himself. Just go to Harvard, go to medical school and do some community theatre. And that's the line. And as soon as I saw him go back home to his parents' house that evening, I was like, oh, okay. And I remembered the line and I was like, oh, it's the kid that wants to act. So it's Neil.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I want to watch a film about John Keating's character.
Yeah.
Like why he went to London.
Yeah.
Why he was teaching there. And they shed some light on, like, because he's got a picture in his room.
In the yearbook, and there's the girl.
The yearbook, the girl, and then it's like, why do you stay here?
Yeah.
Because I can't remember which.
He says like,
which boy he's talking to.
And it's just like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, there's why would you come back to the place
that you hated?
And you knew, and.
Well, I guess he wants to save as many kids.
He wants to change
from the torments that he went through there, and he wants to make their life better, and he wants to say, hey, it's okay, I've been here, I went here, and I'm okay.
But you do need more of that explanation, like you need more motivation.
It's weird, because you just need to make this film iconic in my mind, to make me want to watch it again. I need more from Neil, and I need more from John Keating and Todd.
Yes.
Those are my characters that I need to understand a bit more about.
Yeah, and I think you could, I know you said you quite like the storyline of Knox and the girl. You could get rid of that.
Oh yeah, it doesn't add anything at all.
No.
Other than the fact that he's one of the, like, lads. Yeah. He's integrated into the group. Everybody likes him. He's charming. He's a good guy. You're like, okay, well, you could have done that in a scene.
Yeah.
Like, there doesn't need to be I mean, it's not even a beeline. It's like, he doesn't need to have any of that. So all of that other character development that you needed could have happened from even just a couple more conversations between John Keating and Neil about wanting to do acting.
Yeah, there's a couple on there. There's like
two, but it comes into the film so late as well that he decides he wants to be an actor.
Yeah.
And it, if he was kind of, I mean, I get that obviously the teacher is supposed to be the person that brings these inspirations and joy out of them.
Yeah.
But like, it's just, it just all seems a bit rushed. Like, it's a really slow-paced film.
Yeah.
And then everything that you want more of is like in the last third, and you're like,
yeah. Yeah, like you think, there's got to be more scenes of him and the kids together, and then there aren't. And then you've got all that extra story that isn't really necessary. And yeah, it's curious.
It is.
I was underwhelmed, I think. I stand by. It's a very good film.
Yeah, and like I said, I enjoyed watching it.
But I think the bar was set too high. I think like everyone, it is up. Like everyone, it's brilliant. No, Robin Williams, and it's like he's good in it.
He is good in it. He's great, and the kids, they're great. There's no weak link. Like, the acting is really good, and it's a stunningly atmospheric film. Like. It's winter and it's cold, and they're in their little cave, but then they're like, the cave, even though it's a cave, is really warm and joyous and like bright compared to kind of the harsh. It's sort of a real stark contrast between the interior of the boarding school and like, the grey kind of like bumbling middle-aged teachers. And Robin Williams is like this, this beaming kind of energetic teacher. He's quite young compared to everybody else, and there's all these amazing things about the film, but it just was a bit that was my fundamental issue with it. I just needed to understand those characters more to get me to kind of understand their actions.
It didn't quite have the right balance.
No, which is bizarre because so many people literally love this film.
Yeah,
I mean, I think is it like is it in people's like top 10, top hundreds? Like, is it rated?
I think
it was regarded like as a good film, and it is. But people quote this film.
It's got it's got an 8.1 on IMDb.
Okay.
Which is pretty good. 79 on Metascore.
I mean,
Metacritic.
The thing that I actually find more compelling about this film now is obviously the circumstances of the fact that, like, Robin Williams isn't here. And that, for me, watching it, I was like, oh, God, that's a bit of a... difficult thing to watch, because obviously he's the teacher and he's the one that's lost a pupil to suicide, and obviously, unfortunately, life was harder for him later on than I guess he'd hoped it would be. But
I was reading actually that apparently, I think, like, he went through bouts of depression all throughout his life, and he was quite subdued and down,
really,
whilst making this film, and not the crazy, vibrant Robin Williams that people were. And I don't know if that was just him, like, reining himself in because the character had to be out there, but not
so
zany.
much. Yes.
But apparently that I've read that he wasn't necessarily like the exuberant Robin Williams at that time, anyway.
Okay. Yeah, it's that. I mean, that was one of the things that I found most, I guess, difficult actually to watch. But then, I mean, that's fiction and true life. So,
I mean, it won
a BAFTA, right?
It won an Oscar for best screenplay written directly for screen.
Wow! Okay.
And it was nominated for best picture.
Right.
Robin Williams was nominated for best actor in a leading role. And Peter Weir was nominated for best director.
Interesting.
It was nominated for Golden Globes for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Performance for Robin Williams, and Best Screenplay. So it was nominated for all of those. It won the BAFTA for Best Film.
Right.
It won the BAFTA for Best Score, and was nominated for Best Actor. It was nominated for Best Actor, Director, Editing, Screenplay.
Wow.
So, there was a lot of a lot of awards,
acclaim,
buzz.
Yeah, I mean, like we've said, it is a great film in that respect, But it's just, I like I said, I've said this a few times now, I just wouldn't want to watch it again, really.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what I would get from watching it again.
Yeah.
Like, because I didn't laugh, I didn't cry, I didn't really emote outside of seeing like Robin Williams on screen acting and being outstanding.
Yeah.
I
do wonder if again, like because we'd never seen this before, either of us, and maybe it's just to do with the time in our lives that we're at, and you know, things that, you know, because, you know, we're both sort of like mid to late 30s, so you know, lots we've been through, we've experienced more life.
Early 30s over here. Tom, thanks for that though.
All right, fine. You're a lot younger than me, and so I think that, you know, if I'd seen this when I was maybe late teens, early 20s, then it might have had more of an impact.
Same. I kind of think like, I think we've talked about this when we've been talking about films, and I think we talked about it more so, like you said, actually, with Footloose, in that if you watch a film like that as a kid, you automatically are rooting for the kids.
Yeah.
And you don't really think about the teacher. You don't really think about the parents. You're like, oh God, they're so boring. But actually, like we've said, we want to know more about John Keating.
Yeah.
Like, that's the story that we want to hear more about. And you just watch things in a different way when you're in a different place in your life. And I think, you kind of find it easier to relate to, I guess, people who represent you more closely, whether that's by age, you know.
Yeah, I think so. So I think I probably would have felt more inspired if I'd seen this when I was younger. And you know, I think it's a very positive message that the film puts out, that it's, you know, there are times in your life where you do want to live in the moment, but, you know, and you do need to embrace things like creativity and art and all of that kind of stuff. You can't just, you know.
Well, and you shouldn't dismiss any kind of art form if you haven't, you know, there's value in everything if you can find it. Yeah. But it's having the patience to find it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And it's one of those things, like, I'm not particularly interested or have much love for poetry as an art form, but I do know a lot of people who really, really get something out of poetry and who really embrace it and love it and write it, and you know, and it's just like, okay, that's brilliant, because that's that outlet that you need. And you know, it's much like me, if like I enjoy being creative, making films, and that's the career path I've chosen, but in terms of like dealing with my own emotional state and my own emotions, then I'll sit and play my guitar, and it's like, you know, I have no illusions of being a musician, and I'm not a particularly great guitarist, but it gives me that creative outlet that I can use. So I think, you know, it is important to embrace all of that, all those kind of art forms, and having a film like this that shows the merits of it, even though the person who embraces it most fully gets royally punished for doing so. That's kind of a bit of a mixed message, I suppose. But you know, I think it is very valid, and I think it, like we said, it's if you probably see this movie at the right time, it can probably do a lot of good for your attitude towards life. Perhaps
I think as well for for teenagers, I suppose, it's a really powerful tribute, I guess, to teachers.
Yes.
And I think they are so often overlooked. And I actually think of all the teachers that inspired me, and it's the ones that were a little bit more quirky.
Yeah.
But just like patient and kind. Yeah. That really kind of, I was very, very lucky with school. Like, I had incredible teachers. I can't really think of bad ones, to be honest. But in fact, I actually can't. I did have great teachers. But I did English, lit at uni, and I did a poetry module.
Right.
It's not something that I ever really wanted to do. My friend was doing it, I think, and I was trying to sync my timetable up with her. So I took Victorian poetry, and I was like, oh, this is going to be dull.
Yeah.
But it was actually really interesting because, I mean, you know, when you're studying English lit, sometimes, you know, you read a passage and teachers are like, you know, but what's this actually really about? You know, why did the author choose the word and? And I'm like, well, you know, because they just needed to put two bits of a sentence together.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, you're like, there's really not more in it than that.
Yeah.
But actually with poetry, you know, words are chosen so specifically for a reason. And actually you can get really, really stuck into why. And it is really fascinating. And sometimes I think poetry does get a bit like left behind, or people have a bit of a, I don't know, a funny attitude towards it. And I think it can be really, really powerful. And I think there's so, like you say, there are so many positive messages in this film about things like that, and about, you know, not dismissing like creativity and art and interpretation and having an opinion and being put on the spot and being forced to kind of step outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And yeah, like liking teachers. It's okay to like teachers.
Yeah.
Teachers are amazing people.
Yeah. I mean, both my parents were teachers. So like all of their friends were teachers. So I grew up even outside of school surrounded by teachers, which was, you know, is great because you've got a whole slew of adults who know exactly how to deal with, talk to, and engage with a child. So, like, I never felt like I was sort of left out of conversations because they were always very inclusive of me. So I was very lucky in that regard. I did have some bad teachers at school, but I had some really good ones as well. And a lot of the ones that I remember were the ones that tended to have a lot more personality and a bit more, you know, they were a bit more fun.
Like John Keating, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They, you know, they weren't necessarily trying so hard to be subversive or to be, you know, but they just let
a bit more of themselves.
Yeah, a bit of personality there. Yeah, and you know they'd still be firm and strict, and you still had to do the work they were doing. But at the same time, they'd make it fun. Yeah, and if learning isn't fun, it's a horrible experience.
Yeah, yeah, really oppressive and just not. You know, not nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's only in my 30s, really, late 20s, 30s, that I've realised how much I enjoy learning. But I've been learning things at my own pace by watching YouTube and watching, you know, finding articles about things. And, like, there's so much you can, you know, I can quite happily get absorbed by learning a new thing or learning to do something or whatever. Yeah. And it does make me kind of think back to school. Wow, there's, you know, those teachers, they have to teach such a specific thing and they can't go at the pace of the pupil and they can't, you know, they can't do all of those things which make learning fun.
Well, I mean, especially now, and especially like I think in state schools in the UK, they are so restricted by the curriculum and the T's and C's and Ofsted and all that. And I just think, God, actually teachers need to teach, so just let them. Yeah. Like they aren't paper pushers. Yeah. You know, they're not there to tick boxes, and they're there to engage children and to try and get them to teach. And sometimes that means you do have to go at different paces for different students. And that's so hard, like as a teacher, to gauge that and to get that right and to actually have the freedom to do that. I mean, it's only really, like I said, I was really lucky. I went to a private school and I had good teachers, and I think because of that they had wriggle room around how they taught. And I think because, you know, you had to take an entrance exam to get in, I think they were working with, like, I mean, I guess everybody in my school had a different experience, but once you've kind of been put into sets and things like that in terms of pace, you can kind of play around a bit more. So I think they got given this freedom to sort of engage us in different ways.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's amazing. But I was, like I said, I was really, really lucky and really privileged to be able to experience that. Yeah. And I think it's like, I have friends who are teachers now, and it's grueling. And I just have nothing but respect for them, because I think they do an amazing job. But I don't think the school system allows for. No,
it really doesn't. Even like
to do that.
When I was going through school and my parents were still teaching, you could tell that's the way it was going. And it just, it became all about the paperwork and less about the actual kids.
Yeah.
And it's a shame.
Yeah.
Because it does really show you the value of it.
Yeah.
And I have a little daughter now. She's 2, nearly 3, and she goes to like a nursery, but they run it like a preschool, like in it, and it's they're teaching all of this great stuff, but they just let the kids find their way, and they're just, and it's such a lovely environment to see her in, and she's just flourishing with it, and you do kind of worry, it's like, oh my God, when she gets to an actual school, are we going to be able to find somewhere that's going to be able to continue that and get the best out of her?
Yeah.
So I think seeing a movie like this where you see that you can still explore that stuff, those passions that you have, even if you're in a very repressive environment, that shouldn't hold you back.
Yeah.
If there's something you love doing, then you make that your hobby, or you find a way to learn to love it or enjoy it, or
Yeah, it's. I mean, the more we're talking about this, actually, I'm like, oh, do you know what? Actually, I do really.
That's what I mean. That. It's a good film. I think for me, it was just like, that's exactly what I expected it to be.
Yeah.
Like, there was nothing more.
There was nothing that sort of charmed and surprised you.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, I'd say that, because it just it did nothing unexpected, I guess, which is why I was a bit like, oh, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
But like I said, it is a very good film, so.
Yeah, it's a funny one. Like I said, the more we're talking about it, I'm like, oh no, there's so much more to talk about, actually. There's so much more that this film does that I didn't realise it did.
Yeah.
But then, if you're not going to watch a film again, has it done its job? Because it's a film, and it's supposed to be watched.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. I'm trying to think if I had sort of like a favourite moment. I don't want to be cliche and pick the ending where they all stand up and say, our captain, my captain, but I don't know. There were little touches here and there that I thought were really sweet to experience as a viewer.
Yeah.
Like Boy's First Crush, and it's handled so well. The acting's so good.
Yeah, it's very good.
So there are little moments where you get kind of a really lovely setup, but I didn't think, like, it's not beautifully shot.
No, there's a few moments. There's a couple of scenes in the snow which are really nice.
Yes.
And there's a bit of mist and fog, and that's really good.
But it's not a beautiful film.
Yeah, it has its moments, but you're right. It's not every frame's a painting.
Yeah. I feel like The Third Man has kind of ruined my life. Because every film I've watched since then, I'm like, it's just not beautiful. Like I think that film kind of took my breath away, and I don't know why, really.
No. I think that film is phenomenal, and it is, the look of it, and it does look incredible. So I can understand it.
Yeah, I just think, like, I'm watching these films and I'm like, oh yeah, it was fine. Like there are films in my head that I think are aesthetically beautiful. I mean, I'm trying to think of examples, like Gladiator. For me, right. I love to watch the film because I find the story interesting, but I love to watch and look at the scenes because I think they are incredibly shot.
Yeah.
And there's other films that we've talked about, but The Third Man, it's just raised the bar.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's gonna like.
There's something, if you can get great black and white lighting.
Mm-hmm.
It just, it really looks great.
Yeah,
really looks great.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Watching films since I've watched that.
It's funny because, like, doing this podcast, I would not have picked that as the one that would have given you like a fundamental shift in your perception of what you like.
I don't think I realised it did.
Yeah.
I know when we talked about it on the podcast, and I was like, you know, raving about it, but I think it's because it's just had a knock-on effect after, like, since.
Yeah.
In terms of kind of all the films I've watched, like, I was watching The Hunger Games with my housemates the other day, and that's been since then. And there were scenes in there that I was like, oh, that's a great shot. Like, it looks amazing. But I think that my eye has been, like, raised. I guess that's a completely terrible way of phrasing it. But yeah, my awareness of looking at things like that, and just the skill of it's because of the simplicity again, I think.
Yeah.
And there are elements of that in this. Like, there are, because it's fairly contained as a film. There's not a huge amount that happens outside of. No.
I mean, it's a very drab environment. Yeah. I mean, like, trying to make it interesting, and whereas I think, like we said with The Third Man, the whole point of the cinematography is to throw the viewer into that kind of off kilter, like, feeling. Whereas with this, it's much more standardized drama framing.
Yes,
particularly.
It's a posh elite American boarding school, and that's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, I think it's when the weather sets in. That's when you get the really good, cool looking shots.
And the scene when Todd finds out and, like, runs outside.
Yeah,
I loved that. I thought that looked stunning.
That was supposed to take place in one of the interiors, and they were all geared up to shoot at the interior.
Really?
And it started snowing. And they were like, okay, let's do this. And by the time they'd started to get all the kit out, the snow had started to stop. And it started to slow down, and they literally did all of that in one take.
Wow.
So literally, like, for all of the shots in that sequence, I think they just had one take to get them.
My goodness.
And for those kids, that's pressure.
Yeah,
a lot of pressure, particularly for such a big moment.
Yes. Yeah, because it's the biggest moment of the film.
Yeah.
And they're there without their captain. Either of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, I think that's probably one of my favourite shots, I guess.
Yeah.
In it.
Yeah. There's some nice stuff of, like, I don't know if it's the first time they go down to the cave.
Oh yeah.
There's some fog and it looks really atmospheric, and they've got their robes on, and there's some cool looking shots there. I think for me, in terms of a favourite scene, one of the scenes I like, which is a really simple little scene, is when he takes them out into the courtyard and he asks 3 of them to start walking around in a circle. And then they eventually fall into step with each other.
Yeah.
And then the kids start clapping because they're marching. And he's just like, you see how easy it is to just fall in line with everybody else. And it's very easy to just be regimented and put in a box.
Yep.
And he's like, and I bet you're all standing there thinking that you wouldn't have walked that way, but you were all clapping.
Yeah. So you did the same.
You did the same.
Different
and So, and I just thought that's a cool demonstration of his methodology and his how he feels, the world shouldn't be, I guess.
Yes.
So I did enjoy that. So I think that was probably that was the scene that I kind of stuck with me, which is weird because I don't think it's a particularly big moment, but I just thought it was a nice encapsulation of.
Yeah. I actually really liked as well the scene with Todd when John Keating makes him stand up in class and he has his hands over his eyes and he like pushes him to come up with a poem on the spot. Yeah.
That is very good, actually. Yeah.
It's a really good scene, and I loved how kind of you get that transition of, which I guess is kind of stereotypical in kids' classes, where someone's putting themselves out there a little bit and you get the sniggering. Yeah. And then, John Keating's characters, he puts his hands over his eyes again. He's like, ignore them. Like, just stop, just don't. And then come the end of that process, they're all cheering for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is just a really cool. Yeah, a really nice moment.
And it's also him really pushing him out of his comfort zone, but in a very supportive way.
Really supportive. Like, it feels very, like, safe to be, like, as a place to kind of, to test, like, a new skill. But also, it's kind of, for me, that scene was when it pushes you to think that Todd's the main character again.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, it's all about him and his journey. And then, obviously, you know, all of his friends are going on like a different journey, but he's going with them, and so you get this really nice blend. But I think that's probably also one of my favorite scenes, I guess. And I'm trying to think, like, we've said that those three characters, John Keating, Todd, and Neil, all kind of needed a bit more to make the story make more sense, particularly Neil.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of who I liked on screen the most, it's got to be Robin Williams, I think.
Yeah.
He's just remarkable.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
In this. And the character as well.
Yeah.
So it's the acting, but also the character. Because there's so much going on there that I mean, I guess you don't really need to know more. It's fine that you don't. You need more of Neil to make the story make sense. But there's just so much going on, and you're like, oh, why did you go away? Why did you leave? Why are you back? What happened in London? Like, there's so much that's just in him, and the fact that Robin Williams is able to tell that story without telling that story in any way.
Yes.
He just lets you know that it's all there.
Yeah.
And that's down to the writing, you know, the screenplay as well, because he couldn't do that, you know, on his own. But you agree that's your... Yeah,
I'd pick Robin Williams. I think all the kids are great, but I'd pick Robin Williams as well. I think he, he's definitely... There's definitely a lot more going on. And, you know, looking at what happened subsequently to that and how he ended his life and all that kind of stuff, and it does make you wonder, like, the reason he was so good in that is because he understood, like, he obviously understood Neil and the other characters, what it's like to struggle to be that creative soul that can be constrained. And so, you know, I think there's probably even more going on there than anyone ever realised, particularly at the time. Yeah,
of course. There must have been. And I think maybe as well, maybe that's why, maybe if you watch this film again in like 6 months or something, maybe there would be more that you would see that you would, you know, take forward with you and actually start to kind of understand why people do deem this to be one of the greats, you know, one of their favourite films. Because, I think the awareness on his part of those boys and their journey and their characters, as you say, obviously, because of everything that happened, his understanding of Neil had to have been elevated, had to have been more. But it's difficult. It's a weird film.
It is.
I was surprised when I watched it, but not in a way that I want to be by a film. I was just kind of surprised. I mean, we could keep talking about this forever, I think, because it's interesting, but I don't think there's much more that we haven't.
No, I was just thinking that I think we've covered most of the bases, and talking about it does make you think, oh yeah, I probably would watch it again another time, but it's not the sort of movie, I guess. It seems a bit of a weird comparison, but something like Schindler's List is like, it's an amazing film that you might watch once in a while. And
I think maybe there's just subtleties that keep giving, you know, when you watch it. And again, I think maybe some of what we've talked about is just, from my part anyway, probably a complete lack of understanding of the experience of that Neil's actually dealing with.
Yes,
So I think maybe as sort of time goes on, I should watch it again. And try and just see if there's a little more there.
Yeah. No, I think I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. So next week we thought this was a bit of a step change, but we're definitely changing Speed on the old podcast and the pace.
Yeah.
Kudos if you've got that one. We're doing Speed next week. Talking about Speed. We're not doing Speed. That'd be a really different type of podcast. So we're going to be talking
a lot shorter.
Speed. So yeah, set your speedometer to 50.
Yeah.
And tune in next week. I've seen this lots of times. Have you?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, this is kind of like an action film from my youth, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I saw this in the cinema. I don't think.
Oh gosh, I have no idea.
I would have seen the VHS.
Yeah, I think I probably would have hired it from the video store.
Yeah. Yeah, or on TV.
I mean, I definitely went through like a phase of having like birthday parties and like hiring a bunch of movies, and this would have always been like a go-to film.
Yeah. I think it's one of those where, when we've talked before about like the quintessential like 80s action movies, this is a proper 90s action movie.
It's so 90s.
Like it's
I'm so interested to look at all the fashion, because like, I feel so old now saying this, but like scrunchies are back in, and kind of t-shirts under strappy dresses, and I'm like, this is literally the fashion of like my youth come back around and is now cool again.
Yeah.
And I can't quite do myself to wear a scrunchie again, because I'm like, it's just not cool, because it wasn't cool when I was a kid. So, well, I grew out of it being cool, so it can't possibly be cool again. Yeah. But this kind of put Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves kind of on the map.
I think
for me, definitely.
I think Keanu
had done a couple. Was this
not an action movie? I think this might have been his first action movie.
As like an action hero.
When was Point Break?
Oh, I don't know.
Point Break was 91. So Point Break was his I think his
sort of breakout
action role.
Okay.
He was already, I think, fairly well regarded because of things like My Private Idaho, which I think was before. I'm going to double check.
Okay.
I'm not sure on my Keanu Reeves timeline.
Well, there we go.
Let's have a look.
Handy.
What we got. Probably the thing that really launched him at all was Bill and Ted.
Oh, okay.
Then, a few other bits. Then Point Break becoming the action star. Bill and Ted Bogus Journey and My Own Private Idaho all came out in 1991.
Whoa.
Along with...
busy guy.
another film, Providence, as well.
Nice.
Then 92 was Dracula. 93 was Much Ado About Nothing, which is bad. Then 94 is Speed. So, his rise over that 5 years was pretty big and swift. Because it was Bill and Ted would have been the big one, I think.
See, because I thought
he'd done more drama before Speed.
Interesting.
But seemingly not.
Not as many.
No.
As I thought. But I think that's why, because Speed for me was probably one of the first sort of bigger blockbustery kind of actiony films that was actually fitting for my age at the time when I watched it.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think it's a 15 and I was 14 when it came out. So it would have been, absolutely.
Was it 15? Oh my gosh, I think it's 15. That's so funny.
I'll double check that. I would have thought it was a 15.
You're probably right.
Might have been a 12.
Ooh, who knows? Because I can't remember if I saw this like in the cinema. I must have had it as a VHS then.
Yeah, I must have as well, because I know that I think I only ever saw one 15 rated movie when I wasn't 15.
Right. Yeah, because see, I probably saw this when I was like 12 or 13 or 14. Obviously 15, because it's breaking the law. But I mean, I probably was younger, and we'd watched it. We'd hired it from the video store. But Sandra Bullock as well, I think this is probably one of her first bigger films.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Because I mean, when we talked about Bill and Ted,
put it this way,
few weeks back. Oh, sorry, no.
I was going to say the first 4 things on her IMDb, like known for, Speed is the earliest one.
Right.
But sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say that when we talked about Bill and Ted on the podcast, I was kind of saying at the time, like it was just a little bit too early for me.
Yes.
Like I kind of missed the boat on it. And all the sort of the cultural references, like just we didn't make them when I was younger because it was I was just a bit too young for it. Whereas Speed was kind of my
spot on
sort of age range in terms of like starting to watch movies more and like chatting about them with friends. You know, when you're like in secondary school and you're a bit older, and you have those types of conversations. But yeah, that's sort of what I remember.
Yeah, she was in a bunch of movies beforehand. The biggest film I can see that before Speed is the year before, and it's Demolition Man.
I see. I don't think I've ever seen that.
That's Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, I mean, I know the film. I don't think I've ever watched that.
Yeah, I think I probably rented that as well.
Fair enough.
But yeah,
I'm excited to talk about Speed because it's going to be 90s-tastic.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know if it's going to be good. I mean, I'm sure it is because it's just so good, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of, I think I've said this on the podcast before. It does tend to be like a window where a movie goes through where it's like it's super, super cool. Oh, it's really not cool and dated, and then oh no, it's fine again now.
Yeah,
and I don't know where we are on that arc of Speed's journey.
I'm pretty
sure, because I was really worried that The Matrix was falling in the trough of that.
Okay,
and I actually felt that it didn't.
No,
but yeah, so I'm kind of worried. Like, are we going? Oh no, it's so dated, and so. But hopefully not.
I hope it's not. I hope we've either come out the other side of the day, or we haven't got there yet.
Yeah, that's true.
So fingers crossed. But yes, please do join us next week to hear what we've got to say about Speed, and we can figure out if it's still cool or not. Yeah. Yes, I think it is going to be.
I hope so.
Scrunchies all the way. And thank you very much for listening for today, and we'll catch you next week. See ya.
Bye.